Hi guys, it's time for the next instalment of our story. There we go, in case you'd forgotten what we're reading every day. We had got to the part where Toothless had just been goaded into moving by Snotlout, who called him a newt with wings, which wouldn't have gone down too well. And Toothless had just gone up into the air, hopefully not to cause embarrassment to himself. Right, sit yourselves down comfortably. Let's see what happened next. Hiccup heaved a huge sigh of relief as Toothless took off in a shambolic fashion in the general direction of the sea. Too good to be true, he said to himself 10 minutes later as Toothless returned from a second trip, clearly bored, but dropping a couple of herring, their fish, at Hiccup's feet. In about half an hour, I, Hiccup, will become a fully paid up member of the hairy hooligan tribe. Turns out, though, unfortunately, it was too good to be true. Fireworm was just flying back to Snotlout with her 20th fish, her green cat's eyes snapping with triumph when Toothless called out, "Sloppy snob!" Fireworm stopped in mid-air, her head whipped round and her eyes narrowed. "What did you say?" she hissed. "Oh no," said Hiccup. "Toothless, don't do it." "Sloppy snob," jeered Toothless. "Is that the best you can do? Pathetic, hopeless, useless." "You," hissed Fireworm, her ears dangerously back as she crept forward the air like a leopard about to spring, "are a little liar." "And you," said Toothless calmly, "are a rabbit-hearted, seaweed-brained, winkle-eating snob." Well, that was it. Fireworm had had enough. She went for him. Toothless streaked off as quick as lightning, and Fireworm's massive jaws snapped together with a sickening crunch on nothing but thin air. Chaos ensued. Fireworm had completely lost control. She plunged wildly through the air, claws out, biting anything that moved, and letting out huge bursts of flame. Unfortunately, in the process, she accidentally, maybe on purpose, scratched Killer, a dragon with a very short temper. He then attacked any hooligan dragon within biting distance, and soon the dragons were involved in a full-scale, rip-roaring dragon fight, with the boys running around shouting them to stop and trying to pull them apart, all without getting themselves killed. The dragons took absolutely no notice, however hard the boys yelled, and Thuggery and Snotlout were very red in the face after some pretty impressive yelling. Tomato-coloured. Gobber the Belch went ballistic on the sidelines. "Can somebody tell me what in Thor and Woden's name is happening?" Toothless, however, was in his element. He loved chaos, dodging Fireworm's angry lunges with ease, nipping in with a lively bite at Alligator Tiger here and a scratch at Bright Claw there, obviously enjoying the fight enormously. Even Horrorcrow showed a great deal of spirit for a dragon who was supposedly vegetarian. She managed to give Fireworm a truly impressive bite on the bottom as Fireworm and Killer rolled through the air, biting huge chunks out of each other. Gobber the Belch entered the fray, grabbing hold of Fireworm's tail. Fireworm gave a howl of outrage, squirmed round and set Gobber's beard on fire. With one massive hand, Gobber swatted out the fire, and with the other he clamped her jaws shut so she could neither bite him nor burn him anymore. He tucked her under one arm, holding her mouth closed. "Stop!" he screamed with a hair-raising, skin-crawling, fang-dropping yell that reverberated off the cliffs, bounced off the sea, and whose faint echoes could even be heard on the mainland. The boys paused. The dragon stopped. There was silence. Even the watching crowd went completely quiet. This had never happened before. All 20 boys had shown themselves to be completely out of control of their dragons during the initiation test. Technically, this meant all of them should be thrown out of their tribes into exile, and exile in this horrid climate would mean certain death. Food was scarce, the sea was dangerous, and there were certain wild tribes rumoured to be cannibals. Now, if you don't know what cannibals means, they eat humans. They are humans that eat humans. Gobber the Belch stood, lost for words, his beard still on fire. When he spoke, his voice was deep. "I will have to speak with the elders of the tribes," was all he said. He dropped Fireworm on the ground. The elders of the tribes were Mogadon and Stoic, Gobber himself, and a few more of the more fearsome warriors, such as Terrible Toughnut, the Vicious Twins, and the hairy, scary librarian from the Meathead Public Library. The crowd and the boys stood absolutely still as the elders consulted in the traditional elder huddle, which looked a bit more like a rugby scrum, to be fair. All the time, the storm overhead was getting worse. Huge claps of thunder burst over their heads. The rain poured down, and they wouldn't have been much wetter if they'd all jumped into the sea for a nice jolly swim together. The elders spoke for a long time. Mogadon got very angry at one point and swung a fist at Toughnut. Eventually, Stoic came out of the huddle and stood before the boys, all of whom were hanging their heads in shame. If Hiccup had been able to look at his father, he would have seen that Stoic was not his normal, merry, violent self. He looked solemn. "Novices of the tribes," he said grimly. "This is a bad day. You have failed the final test of the initiation program. By the fierce law of the Inner Isles, this means you should be cast out from the tribes into exile forever. I do not want to do this, not only because my son is among you, but because it will mean a whole generation of warriors is lost to the tribes. But we cannot ignore our law. Only the strong are able to belong. Furthermore," he carried on, "the god Thor is really quite angry. This is not the moment to start weakening our laws." Thor let out a great crash of thunder as if to underline his point. Don't know if you heard my cat running along the floor then. "Under normal circumstances," said Stoic, "the ceremony of exile would start now. But as an act of mercy, I will allow you one more night of shelter under my roof. From this moment forth, you are banished and may not talk to another member of your tribe. Pity me, for this is the saddest thing I have ever had to do, to banish my own son," said Stoic sadly. Thunder crashed all around as the boys stood still in the pouring rain, their heads bowed. Stoic looked pityingly at Hiccup. "I cannot do what I want, Hiccup. I have to decide what is for the good of the tribe." Suddenly Hiccup got really angry. "Well, you don't expect me to pity you, do you? What kind of father thinks his stupid laws are more important than his own son? That's just pathetic. And what kind of stupid tribe is this anyway, that it can't just have ordinary people in it? Why does everybody have to win something, otherwise they get banished? That's just ludicrous." Stoic stood looking down at his son in surprise. Then he turned around and trudged off, the tribes already running off the beach and scrambling up the hillsides towards the shelter of the village with the lightning coming down all around them. Hiccup took no notice of anybody. He looked up at the heavens beside himself with fury, that's huge, huge rage, as the wind scooped up seawater in handfuls and flung it straight into his face. "Just once," he yelled into the rain. "Why wouldn't you let me be a hero? Just once. I didn't want anything amazing. I just wanted to pass a stupid test so I could become a proper Viking like everybody else." Thor's thunder boomed and crackled above him. "All right then," screamed Hiccup. "Hit me with your stupid lightning. See if I care. Just do something to show you're thinking about me at all." But there were to be no bolts of lightning for Hiccup. Thor clearly didn't think he was important enough for an answer. The storm moved on out to sea. And that's where we'll finish it for today. When you have your story with Mrs. Cooper on Monday, she will be starting at chapter 11, entitled Thor is Angry. Ooh. Yeah, you're going to enjoy this next part. Anyway, that's it for now. Have a lovely weekend. Happy Friday. And I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.